Oh, right. Let me make sure we are live. I don't think we are. Yes, we are. Okay. Well, hello. It's Tuesday Motivation and Conversation. I wanted to make sure that my devices were linking up here and so that I can see what's happening. Okay. All right. Wanted to make sure that everything was connected and we are in the space we need to be in. But I hope you've had an amazing Tuesday. Uh, if you happen to stop by the channel while I'm live, definitely share it with somebody. We are into February. It is February 4th. It's the first Tuesday, February 2025. Of course, jumped in January and kind of did a kickoff. Um, and then started to prepare for the pen to paper experience. And so now that we have gotten that out of the way, we can continue with our Clarity Conversation 2025, which is what I started off the year with, talking about some self work. There were 5 questions that I talked about, and then a few follow up questions. So I'm going to review that information on tonight. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's going to be happening the rest of the year into the top of 2026. And I know you said we just got into 2025. Well, listen, you have to keep moving and maintain a steady pace. And the other thing about that is you have to continue to be innovative. I just said to those persons who are part of the pen to paper experience this past weekend, momentum is not about how fast you go, it's about the steady pace. And so establishing a pace, making sure that you are continuing to move forward and continuing to be innovative and making sure that you are putting those things into place once you have established where it is that you are, who it is you want to be. And we're going to go back over some of the things that I talked about at the very top of the year. And I want to say this was New Year's Day or shortly thereafter. And so I want to kind of go back and jump into that. And then, of course, we will begin to be back on our regiment now that we are through the experience. Then there are going to be some other things happening, and I'll talk to you about that before I conclude on tonight. Um, a big shout out to all of those who supported and attended the Pen to Paper Experience 2025. It was absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to Coach Booker T. Spence. Coach Spence was absolutely amazing. I'm telling you, when I say he came in and lit the room up, he was on fire and it remained on fire. It flowed. He wasn't even in the room when I presented on Friday morning and came in on Friday afternoon. And when I tell you what he presented plugged right into the flow of things, it was absolutely phenomenal. People walked out with, I mean, plans in hand, total structures, product suites, the whole framework to what they needed. And that's what pen to paper is about. It's enough to talk about it, but you got to get it on paper. You got to get a plan of action in place and you have to execute. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about before I conclude tonight some of the things that we covered as it relates to the pen to paper experience and how we're going to be working on this entire process that was initiated and shared during the experience throughout the year of 2025. So listen, get ready, tap in. Um, you don't want to be in isolation during this time. You need community. You need to collaborate. You need to be able to communicate effectively. You need to be clear about what it is that you're doing. You need to have clarity about where it is you're trying to go. You need to have clarity about your vision, and you need to have a framework in order to execute that and put that into motion. Listen, if it was ever a time, now is the time for you to invest in yourself, not only with just finances, but with your time and settle into it. I was talking to someone today about the fact that it can be so challenging when you already have a project you're working on, or if you're working corporately, or whatever the case may be, even as a business owner, you know, I have to continue to create content. I have to continue to be innovative. I have to continue to be creative to move along what I've been given to do. That's a part of the process. And so sometimes it can get really challenging because some seasons are more intense than others. And so it can be very laborious trying to make sure that you have all these pieces and parts in place. But when you take the time to establish framework and have a calendar management system in place so that you can manage your time and know where you're going and how you plan to get there. And even if you have to divert or pivot or make some adjustments, uh, it will help you to stay focused. So I want to review some of the things that I talked about on Wednesday, January 1st, when I shared in the clarity conversation for the kickoff of the year. And that was number one, what is it that you desire to do? And of course, that would be a question to yourself. What is it that I desire to do? And then number two, who is it that I desire to be? Right? Because sometimes we're not clear on these things. We don't know what we want to do. We don't know who we want to be. Number three, why is it that I desire to do what I want to do and be who it is I want to be? There's a reason why. And if that why doesn't line up, I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult for you to proceed forward. Number four, how do I establish a plan to execute the process of getting to the results of what I want to do and who it is I want to be? Because a lot of us, and this is no shade on anybody at all, we all have different gifts. And I say this all the time, maximize on your gifts and employ your weaknesses. Maximize on your strengths, I'm sorry, and employ your weaknesses. It's important to do the thing that you do well and employ somebody to do the thing you do not. And you got to know what it is you do well. Because if you don't know what it is that you do well, it's going to be difficult to figure out who it is that you need to help you fill in the gaps. Because you're trying to sometimes do things that you don't do well. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, and the effort is not efficient and effective to help you be productive as you move forward. So it's very important that you determine what your strengths are and maximize on those things and then employ the weaknesses. Okay. And then the question number five was, where do I start? Okay. And so when we got to the where do I start part, I implemented or suggested the self work. So there's a framework for the self work, and this is the framework for self work. And of course, I'm sure I said some other different things on January 1st, but you can go back and you can tie these two together and listen to them. And then I'm going to continue in this series because I want to help you to think more clearly about what your vision is and how it is that you get that vision to manifestation. The self work framework. Number one, in order to get started, you want to do some self reflection even with your vision, if you have not written, number one, if you have not written that down, and that this doesn't have to be a vision that started on January 1st, this could have been a vision from January 1st of 2024. But whatever that is, if it's not written down, you first need to write that down. And if you have not accomplished any pieces and parts of that, then you need to self reflect and ask yourself why. If you have accomplished some of those things and had some small victories along the way, then you need to ask yourself still some questions. What went well? What did not? What can I improve upon? What can I do different? Okay. I don't care how well the events that I do, how well they go, how impactful they are. And when they're impactful and people walk away and they got what they needed, to me, they are absolutely phenomenal and they always will be. However, as a business owner, as a leader, as a planner, as a project manager, there's always something that can be done better. And I'm always looking to improve upon whatever that is. So one of the reasons that it's difficult sometimes for us as individuals to do self-reflection because we don't want to contend with the thing that didn't go well. We don't want to contend with the thing that we felt like was potentially a failure. However, it's a part of the process. So you got to reflect because if you don't reflect, you don't move forward. And so that's an important part of the piece, and it's an important part of where you start. So you start with self-reflection. You have to do that. And while you're reflecting, you need to document. Documentation is important because if there's no documentation, there can be no application. Okay, so we have to make sure that there's some self-reflection. Self-reflection has to take place, and you have to do documentation when you do self-reflection. If there is no documentation, there will be no application. And as a result of that, never any manifestation. Okay. Number two, it has to be self-awareness. So if you do this process according to the framework that I'm sharing, once you do self-reflection, then you're automatically going to get some self-awareness because as you reflect, you're going to be made aware of some things that you may not have thought clearly about during the time in which they took place. So self-awareness is going to help you to then get to number three, which is self-knowledge. You're going to know a little bit more about yourself. You're going to understand a little bit more about what it is that you do or don't do well. You're going to understand a little bit more about what you need to do effectively or more effectively to increase your opportunity to be more efficient and effective with the vision that you're trying to get to manifestation. Okay, so self reflection, going to get you to self awareness. Self awareness is going to get you some better self knowledge. And then self knowledge is going to help you to have better self direction. That's going to give you the ability to take the path that you need to take, connect with the right people, collaborate with the right people, communicate with the right people, network with the right people to help you get to where it is that you're going. And then number five, that's going to be some self leadership. You're going to make better decisions. You're going to be guided. Your actions are going to be different. You're going to take some different steps moving forward because now, as a result of doing the self work framework, you have better self leadership. So my questions to you, and they were then and they still are now, what motivates you? What makes you come alive? What gives you the spark in your eye? What helps you to have that tingliness in your fingers and you're just excited and giddy? What is that thing? Whatever that is, write that down. Okay. Then what moves you? That means what gives you energy? What gets you in a posture of coming alive, and it fuels you. What is that? Here again, you want to document those things because when you're not in that place of being alive, coming alive, being motivated, when you're not in that place of having energy, you got to figure out why. Okay. And then the third question is what causes you to gain momentum? And that's a steady flow of consistency. What helps you in that area? And so sometimes we have to contrast one or two things in order to determine what is causing us to be in these places. So, of course, I went through and I talked a little bit about self reflection, being the process of introspection. Self awareness involves a conscious understanding of one's own personality. That includes your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. That is key. Um, and I'm telling you, we're gonna deal with that in what I'm gonna share with you a little bit later, and that is a huge part of moving forward. And then self-knowledge number three, that's a comprehensive understanding of one's own character, values, abilities, and desires. Then we have self-direction number four, the ability to set and pursue meaningful goals based on understanding of one's own values and knowledge. Super, super, super important. And then number five, of course, this is my S5 methodology self work framework. Self leadership, the practice of influencing oneself to achieve personal goals and improve performance through self motivation and self management. That self management piece is so very key because you have to be able to balance the pieces and parts that you have that's going to help you to get your vision to manifestation. Now, what I want to leave with you tonight, and we're going to work our way through this, and that is the vision framework. Because once you establish who you are, what it is you want to do relative to your own vision, right? Um, Here again, this is not a one-time exercise, but it's a continuous cycle that should be practiced regularly. So you're going to have to do this S5 framework, uh, self-work framework on a consistent basis. You're going to have to self-reflect on a consistent basis. You got to make sure that you maintain self-awareness. You got to make sure you keep your self-knowledge up. You got to make sure you always have some good self-direction so that you can have good self-leadership on a consistent basis. You always, when your antenna should always be up, especially for the thing that you've been called and purpose to do. That's important. Habakkuk 2 and 2, which is the framework and the foundation for which pen to paper is founded on, and that is write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he that read it may run with it. Right? If it can be read, it can be run with. And when you have a vision that um, can be read, understood, and somebody can run with it, guess what else you're going to need? Resources. So for every vision, you need readers, you need runners, and you need resources. And so you have to have a clear vision in order to adequately convey that so that the readers understand what they need to do, the runners know what they need to do, and you know what type of resources you need for both. Okay, so I want to start with this framework tonight, and we'll continue this. I don't know how long I'm going to be here on this particular series, but I'll stay here until I feel like I've given some really good. We've dug into it really, really deep, and I've gave some really good content on it. Vision is the thing for me. You got to be able to see a thing before you can see it. If you can't see it, you'll never see it. I'm gonna say it again. You have to be able to see a thing so that you can see it. Because if you never see it, you won't ever see it. It has to be crystal clear. It has to be something that a vision that you see not with your eyes, but that you see with your heart. And it has a different outcome when you see it with your heart. So I want to go through this vision acronym tonight and share these tidbits with you because I don't want to be long. Um, as you noticed, I came a little early tonight, and that may be a little bit of a time change going forward, but it's always going to be Tuesday evening, so know that part. But there we will get back on track with that particular time. But I am thinking about moving it up an hour. So let's get into it. The vision framework. So V, you have to be able to visualize. You got to be able to see it. Define your ultimate goal, create a vivid picture of what success looks like in that regard to you. What does that vision look like? So that means if you need to do a physical vision board, and I mean, get you an easel, and I mean, go to the extent of doing some of these things I'm suggesting, or you can look up whatever other, suggestions are out there for vision boards or visualization. Get you a vision board. Or you can create a digital vision board so that you can have it on your phone or on your screensaver on your computer, whatever is going to be most effective for you. You can do a vision box during the uh, event, the pen to paper experience. I purchased boxes. They were gifts. Your vision is a gift. And so those boxes have the adequate space for people to put pictures, quotes, things that you hear. It could be a napkin from a restaurant that has a quote on it that coincides with your vision. All of that gets dropped into the vision box. And so when we come back together for the next experience or the next event, how are we coming along with that vision box? What's going in there, right? It could, I mean, it can be anything. It can be a shelf. Um, doesn't have to be a vision box. It could be a shelf that has layers on it, and there's certain things that are going. It can have 4 layers, and each quarter you're putting something different on that shelf for the purpose of the vision. However, you may come to your particular vision or visualization of your goal. It needs to be vivid. It needs to be something that you go out of your way to make sure. Because here's the deal, once you can see it, it makes a difference in how you work toward obtaining the goal. So, V, you need to visualize. That's going to be important. And as you continue to put things into that vision box, that vision board, whatever it may be, it's going to get clearer and clearer to you. You're going to get more excited. You're going to be fueled. You're going to be motivated. All of those things are going to continue to flow because what you are creating the ability for you to see it. Okay. That's going to be super important. Number two, or identity. I'm sorry, identify. Visualize is V, and then I is identify. Break down the vision into clear, specific objectives. Specificity is important here. So if you are, for instance, I have a vision board now that's still because there are a few things that are still on that vision board that I'm looking to accomplish or get to manifestation. Most of those things already are. I think there are two things on there that have not as of yet, but they're still on there. So I have this digital vision board. And so there was a red SUV on that particular um, vision board. It was a digital vision board. What am I driving? A red SUV. So be specific. And so at that time, it could have been it could have been, and at that time, I think it may have been a Range Rover. I ended up with a Jeep. I ended up with a Jeep because as I test drove and the feel and everything and what I was looking for in that vehicle, I liked it a little bit better. So in addition to the cost. However, I have a red SUV. So at the end of the day, you need to be specific in your objectives. Specificity is going to be important, but break that vision down into clear, specific objectives. What needs to happen to get you there? That's the question you need to ask yourself when you're trying to identify with the visualization of the vision. Um, so when you're trying to coexist the vision, the visualization that you put in place, and in identifying those things, you need to ask yourself the question, what needs to happen to get me there? Okay. Number three is S, simplify. Focus on essential priorities. You don't want to be that's why it should be simple. Less is more. So eliminate the distractions and the unnecessary steps. Make sure that it is simple. Focus on the essential priorities of the vision. So for instance, for me, I had two particular vehicles. They had to be red. There was some specificities about the vehicle, but I didn't have 12 vehicles on my board. I only had one, and I had documentation relative to the two that I would go in between. So that's just an example of, um, how you can kind of narrow that down to simplify it. I had a house on that vision board, obtained that as well. So this was 5, 6 years ago now. So there are only two things that are still on that board that were not accomplished. The rest of those things have already been accomplished. Um, there were specificities about my business. There were financial goals about my business. Accomplish those, but I had to do some work. And so what I discovered was as I started out, there were too many things I was trying to do at one time. And the more I narrowed that and simplified it, the better it got. So eliminate those distractions and unnecessary steps. That's going to be key. Number four, implement. Create actionable steps. Start with small, consistent actions that build momentum. What is momentum? A steady, consistent pace. A steady pace. Momentum is not about speed, it is about steady is the pace. So you want to create actionable steps. You want to start with small, consistent actions that build momentum. And I'm telling you, as you are continuing to do things, if that's one thing a month, or if that's one thing a week, or if that's one thing a quarter, but it leads to ultimately you getting to manifestation of the vision and your goals, it's worth it. So, my coach talks about quantum leaps and incremental growth. There's nothing wrong with incremental growth, and it's certainly nothing wrong with quantum leaps. But if you have to work incremental growth, until you get to quantum leaps will come if you just keep doing what you're doing and be consistent. Number five, organize. You want to make sure that you develop a structure or a system to track your progress. So there's schedules, there's checklists, any tools or apps that you may use. I teach in the Vision Room coaching and mentoring group. So there's a coaching and mentoring group that I meet with on a consistent basis every month, uh, twice a month. And then we have personal development exercises and engagement that we do on a consistent basis. Um, and we utilize different tools to help us develop and track our progress. And so those are kinds of things you want to do. And so one of the things that I've shared inside of that group is the 5T strategy model. So that's a model that I've created to help people to organize and develop a system and track their progress. So you want to make sure if that's Slack, if that's Uh, there's some other tools out there that I cannot think of it. It's escaping me right now, but there are two other. Asana, I think, is one, and there are a couple of more. So there are some that you can utilize on your phone. But here's the key: it doesn't matter what the system is. It doesn't matter what the tool is. Rather, you have to do the work. You have to input the data because if you don't input the data, the system's not going to give you anything. Right? The app's not going to give you anything. The tool's not going to give you anything if you do not put some data into whatever it is that you're working with. But you want to make sure that you're utilizing it, schedules, checklists, tools, calendars, so forth and so on, so that you can make sure that you have a system in place and your structure is working. One of the things I say is very important when you're working out your vision to determine what your umbrella is and what your three drops of rain are that go underneath that umbrella. And be sure and clear about that. Be confident. The clarity is so important. I can't talk about that enough. And of course, I'll get back into some more clarity piece as we go through this because that's a part of this process. And then the last letter in vision is N, number 6, navigate. Stay adaptable. You gotta be liquid, you gotta be fluid, you gotta be able to adjust, you gotta be able to pivot, review and adjust as needed to overcome obstacles and stay aligned with your vision. There are gonna be a lot of things that happen um, as you are working toward your goal, but you have to stay open. Adaptability is going to be key factor in you getting to your end goal. Okay. So again, this is a framework that provides a simple but disciplined approach for anybody, whether it's a beginner or you've been in business and you're redoing something, but it helps you to translate a vision into actual and sustainable progress. So just wanted to kind of get us going and back on track as we had our clarity conversation at the top of the year, and kind of, talked about some of those things. You gotta make sure that you break out of the fixed mindset so that you can break through into a mindset that is a growth mindset. And you want to be able to visualize in order to strategize because it's still here again. If you cannot see it, you will never see it. It's important that you're able to see it. And so if you've not been able to see it, that's the thing you want to work toward first. Now, a couple of things I want to share with you, and I'm out of here for tonight. Number one, I do have the Vision Room. That's a coaching and mentoring program. And I do this hands on, in depth with all of the mentees that are part of that group. Now, through the end of this month, you can still get into the Vision Room for only $49 a month. And that's an evergreen $49 a month for as long as you are in the program. Now, if you leave the program, cancel the program, payment fails, whatever the case may be, I can't promise you that you're gonna be able to come back in at that $49. But let me just tell you a few of the things that you get for the $49 and the reason why that price is not going to be the same effective March 1, because there's some additional things that are being added, and some more services that are being provided. And as my grandmama used to say, you can't beat it with a stick, you know? I'm telling you, it far exceeds the value. So you get email support. There are 2 live sessions per month. You also get a one-on-one coaching session on a monthly basis based on availability and how you want to schedule it based on what you have going on. But the email support, of course, is ongoing. And not only that, there's personal development. You get the repertoire and archive of all the trainings and sessions that have happened, strategies, all of the work that has gone into this program. You have access to all of that to use at your leisure. There are ebooks that come with it. There are structures and tools that come with that. So there is a plethora of tools and things to help you with information that you already have. And this is the thing that I share with the mentees all the time, and that is this vision room is for the purpose of helping individuals to process the information that they already have. I'm not inundating with information. I'm helping you to process the information you already have. I'm helping you to establish a system with what you already have. I'm helping you to obtain clarity with what you already have and to be able to get to manifestation from that point. So it's all about you and what you need. So the vision room, you might want to check that out, bridgetmoody.com/, mentoring and get signed up today. So you want to make sure you do that, and definitely before the end of the month, because that price is going to increase. All right. Now, as a result of our amazing pen to paper experience that took place on last weekend, we are incorporating the opportunity to continue our flow. Um, Coach Spence did, Booker T. Spencer did an amazing job with this framework that he rolled out, and so we're going to continue to kind of touch on that throughout the year. So there are going to be some events that are going to be happening pretty much on a quarterly basis, but we're definitely going to be hitting it. And you'll look for this information. It will be coming out pretty soon by the weekend, but there will be some a Saturday 4 hour events that will lend to helping individuals to work on some of the very things that I talked about tonight. So if you're in the DFW Metroplex, I'm telling you, invest in 4 hours, meet us and wherever that's going to be, because this information is going to roll out the weekend. But these Clarity Conversations Live is what it's going to be. So there'll be several Clarity Conversations Live. I've had these Clarity Conversations online last year. I did about 8 sessions last year. They were very productive. People were able to get some amazing information from those sessions. And so I encourage you, if you're in the DFW Metroplex, don't sleep on this opportunity. Make sure that you get connected. When it comes out, when you see it, make sure that you tap in. So you'll want to keep check at bridgetmoody.com/events. That's where it will be posted. So within the next 48 hours, that information will be posted there so that you can get registered and grab your spot. Now, it will be limited space, so you do not want to wait. And so I would, if I were you, once it goes live, I will go ahead and grab my seat. This is going to be so amazing. I'm telling you, there were people who came into the pen to paper experience, did not have a clue of anything. They didn't have anything on paper and left out with a complete framework, a complete product suite. And I'm telling you, it can happen for you as well. So you do not want to sleep on this opportunity. You want to make sure that you tap into it. That's going to be Clarity Conversations Live. And so these will be in person, as well as I'm looking at having an online opportunity for those of you who are out of state and you're not in the DFW Metroplex, especially for those of you who traveled in for the pen to paper experience. You can tap into this so that you can keep track with where you are with your framework and your structure that you developed during the experience. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited about it. And of course, that's going to lead us right back up to Pen to Paper Experience 2026, which is going to be January 30 through the 31st. So early bird registration will be opening for that soon as well. So you can go ahead and get that on your calendar, go ahead and get registered and grab those early bird prices, grab your lodging, all of that amazing prices. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a retreat like none other, an experience like none other. We're going to go a little bit higher. And I'm telling you, we're adding to what we've already done, and we're going to take it up a notch in 2026. So that's some of the things that are going on. Listen, make sure you're following me on LinkedIn. Um, Especially that's where a lot of things are being posted for the most part. There's so many things going on. You will see some things that may be on Instagram, but most in general, it's going to be LinkedIn. And of course, I'll be right here on YouTube. And then you can always go to my website. Make sure you're on the mailing list so that way you can get the information firsthand when it comes out, because the mailing list will get this information immediately when it goes live. So listen, thank you so much for stopping by, checking out Tuesday Motivation and Conversation. Listen, share this with somebody. If it helped you, if it did anything for you, you don't pay a dime for this information. And so, and that's not even the purpose of it. I enjoy being able to share this information. So listen, share it with somebody if it helped you. You know somebody who needs clarity. You know somebody who needs this kind of information. Share it with someone else. And listen, when you share, make sure that they subscribe and make sure you're subscribed. All right. Tuesday Motivation and Conversation. I'll see you next time right here, same time, same place, almost same time, same place. But I'll see you right back here next Tuesday. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and a good rest